happened? What's going on?
Sidney Powell's father, Steve Powell, just learned of his wife's murder, but he could never have imagined that his own daughter was the one who did it.
What happened?
I mean, the window was broken, but there's no forced entry into the house.
She's going to jail forever. Wife's dead. I was too.
After responding to a 911 call at an Akron house on March 3, 2020, Ohio police discovered Brenda Powell on the kitchen floor, suffering from 30 knife wounds to her neck. Sidney, her daughter, who was home at the time, told the authorities that this was a violent murder that had developed into a home invasion. Even with Sidney's wounds, there were still unresolved questions. For the police, things weren't adding up. When Brenda was attacked, she was speaking on the phone with a professor from Sidney's college when she started screaming, and the phone died. The voice on the other end of the telephone claimed to be Brenda when he called her back, but the college professor felt Sidney was pretending to be her mother and knew this was a lie. He dialed 911 out of fear, and the first responders showed up immediately. The cops had sufficient reason to enter the house forcibly based on this scream and their call to the scene. And when he entered the house, this is what greeted him.
Wait, she's on the ground.
Who is it?
My mom! Someone broke in the back window.
All right, hold on.
She's on the ground.
Hold on.
Where's your mom? Okay, stay right here.
No, there's so much blood. No, please!
Man!
She's in the court now! No!
Stop! Hold on, we gotta figure out what's going on. Can you sit down? Can you sit down?
Oh, no, get that 32 roll. We got a female down. Start some more. Take her outside.
Come on. Come on.
Is she gonna be okay?
Come on. Come on.
Brenda's injuries go beyond a simple stabbing. Her life is in jeopardy due to the severe injuries she sustained from being struck over the head by an iron skillet.
You just need to cooperate with me, all right?
I want my dad.
Huh?
I want my dad.
What happened? What's going on? What's going on?
We heard a bang. We heard a bang. And she told me to get out. And then I heard screaming. So I came back and she was on the ground.
Okay, you heard a
I ran
bang.
out back. There was a bang. Someone broken.
Okay. What is your name?
Sydney?
Are you cut?
I don't think so.
Yeah, you're cut somewhere.
I don't think so.
Yeah, your hand.
No, I was helping her. I grabbed her.
All right, stop. I'll tell you what, can you sit on the ground here real quick? Come on. Come on.
You said the ground.
Yeah, you're fine right there.
No.
You're fine right there.
I grabbed the knife.
Before the Britain Street exit ramp. A truck lost some concrete.
This is minor. They might have a more, I don't know. Check that victim in there. She's got cuts on her hands. I don't know what they have in there, but there's a female down in there. Yeah.
What's going on?
I don't know. We just got
the dad. I'm the dad.
Okay,
Sydney. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Sidney seems to be in shock, looks hurt, and is having trouble pulling herself together. Sidney remains uneasy even after her father, Steve Powell, arrives. Locking down the crime scene is necessary while investigators work to determine exactly what happened.
Where's my wife?
The window's broken, Dad!
Where?
The back window's broken in!
So you're gonna have to.
Daddy!
There's officers inside there, so
I don't know! She was there
go
with
check
so
the
much
lady in the
blood!
house, okay? She's got minor cuts and stuff.
The knife used to stab Brenda is inside the house, along with a smashed window, but something doesn't seem quite right. Police concluded that Brenda's stabbing was the only reason the window broke, since blood was dripping from it on the outside. Sydney's story contained numerous lies, the first of which was that the burglar entered through the window, which was broken before the attack. The police spend some time speaking with the surrounding residents because this is such a significant case with so many unsolved questions. Sydney's father is now the only one that makes sense. Therefore, they must strive to get as much information as they can.
Go ahead. Go to channel 5.
It's pretty bad up there. What's your name, ma'am? Sorry, what's your name again?
Police interview Steve Powell and one of Sydney's friends at the station as they attempt to piece together this mystery, hoping that they can provide some insight into what actually happened. Sadly, Steve is unaware that Sydney is the perpetrator. To make matters worse, he is unaware that his wife is seriously injured at the hospital and may not survive. Police will need to inform him of these facts sooner or later.
Who'd you get a call from? Or what happened?
Got a call from him.
Call from me. Oh, okay.
He said there was a call, went out, a distress call from the University of Mount Union where my daughter was going, and said, female in distress. And I said, well, that's funny because Brenda's there, my wife. So I said, well, let me call. So I called Brenda, and it rings and rings on the cell phone, no answer. I call Sydney back, rings and rings and rings, no answer. I call Brenda back, ring, 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 no answer. I'm pacing around. I call Jeep back, and as I'm on the phone with him, telling him there's no answer, my doctor calls me back. He said, oh, Mom's on the phone with Mount Union. I said, well, cops are on the way. And she went, there's been a break-in, and she just started going off. She said, what? She said, there's been somebody broke into the house. There's blood everywhere. And I'm like, stop. And then that's when I called. I'm sure there was conversations after that, but I'm not going to go into the detail. She was hysterical and crying. I called Jeep back and said, yeah, I don't know what I told you. I don't know if I said it was legit or yeah, it's the cops on the way. There's been a break-in, city, and I left. Drove home and saw about.
So at first, when you talked to her, she said that your wife was on the phone with Mount Union.
Yes.
And
As soon as I said cops are on the way, the hysteria started.
Is she still attending Mount Union?
Well, as far as we knew up until today, yes, but apparently not for the last, I don't know, maybe couple weeks.
Sydney had been lying to her parents about being expelled from college weeks before to this incident, something she hadn't disclosed to them. However, she informed her friends, Lauren included, shared the same dorm.
Tell us about Sydney. How did you, when did you first meet, and how long have you known each other?
I've known Sydney for 6 years. We met the first day of summer gym in high school, and then we were best friends ever since.
Now, we understand that Sydney was your roommate at Mount Union?
Yes, she was for last year and then this year until she left.
Okay. So how did that work? Did you both plan on going to Mount Union, or? Okay.
Yeah, she liked it first, and I was like, I don't know. And then I visited there, and I was like, oh yeah, this is the place to be. And then when we both got accepted, we were like, oh, we're definitely being roommates.
And so you've been friends ever since your freshman year at St. B?
Mm-hmm.
You go over each other's houses, everything like that?
Yep.
Okay. So what are you studying at Mount Union?
Education.
Education?
Yes.
And what was Sydney taking?
Well, she started off in exercise science freshman year, her first semester. but then she didn't like the classes, so she switched over to psychology and sociology, but then she didn't really like that, so this year she switched to education, and then she didn't like that either, and that's one of the reasons she left, is because she really couldn't find what she liked, so she was trying to figure it out.
You know, find a niche as far as what she wanted to study, but I mean, did she ever talk to you about her classes and how that's going, or did you share that with each other?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about classes a lot because we did homework together a lot. I think she was like I said, I think she struggled in her classes. I don't think her grades were the best, but she didn't really tell me that because I wasn't really struggling. But I think you could tell, kind of, especially at the end, that she just wasn't like doing her best.
Determining Sydney's mental state prior to the occurrence will aid investigators in determining if the incident was planned or if she just snapped. The problem is in Sydney's assertion that she genuinely doesn't know what transpired during this entire case. She will actually use the fact that she blacked out as the foundation for her entire argument, even going so far as to assert insanity. This indicates that while the police still lack conclusive evidence linking Sydney to the crime, they are beginning to suspect that she was concealing information from most people.
This might kind of change affect her. I mean, did it affect her moods at all? Did she seem concerned about it? Or tell us about that.
I think she kept a lot of stuff hidden because when we were just talking or with our friends, she always seemed happy. Like, she seemed okay, like I said, I couldn't tell. Until the end where she was kind of just like struggling and she kind of was sad and just like, Lauren, I don't know what to do. I'm like, well, you just need to find what makes you happy and like, just, you need to find what you like to do.
Lauren attempted to assist after realizing something was off. She was the most encouraging friend anyone could have been at this time, and at first there was no reason to disbelieve her. But Sydney's evasiveness began to worry even Lauren.
Did you notice any, change in her mood? Was she talking about anything? Or?
I could tell she was getting more upset, like more sad. And I told her, like, I'm here, like, you can tell me, I'm here for you. If you need anything, I'm here. But she never really opened up until she was leaving and saying that she was struggling with school and that she was kind of trying to figure out what was going on, and that's when I started to try to help her. And then she ultimately decided to leave, which I thought would maybe be good for her, just to get her mind off the rest of the semester and then come back or go to Akron or something the next fall semester, kind of, hoping that would help her.
Lauren, let's talk about this. You're her best friend, and I know this is difficult, but tell us about her relationship with her parents.
Her and her parents had a really good relationship. Like, her mom and her were best friends. Probably, like, they did everything together. Like, one of the reasons she went home was to be with her mom. They were always close. She never said anything bad about her mom. She never ever talked about having an argument with her mom. Like, I can't recall every time she'd be going home, she'd be like, I can't wait to see my mom. Or when she goes home for weekends, she'd be like, oh, my mom wants me to come home so we can hang out and like watch movies. And she loved being home. And she had a good relationship with her dad too. Like, I know that her and her dad liked to watch like Star Wars together, and he always like cooked food at the house. Like, he liked cooking, and she'd always talk about how good his food was and what they would get each other for Christmas and things about spring break. Like, she loved being home with her family.
Sydney chose to pretend that college wasn't for her and tried to persuade her parents that they would save a lot of money on tuition if she left to pursue other interests, even though by this point she was deeply committed to a lie from which she would find it difficult to break free.
Perfectly normal. She's crying because I said, what's going on? Are you not going to school? She goes, I'm overwhelmed in school, and I don't really like what I'm doing, and it seems like it's a waste of my time and your money. I said, well, but that's all part of it. Nobody's going to tell you you need to do what you're doing when you're 20. You need to figure it out. But you have to work through the problem. You can't just ignore the problem and have it go away.
However, she did not tell her friend the same thing. It was something different.
So when she's talking to you about, the problem she's having at school, did she mention that she tried talking to her parents at all, or that they were going to have, that they were involved in her future plans at all?
Yeah, I know she definitely, especially when she left, she talked to her mom about leaving. They kind of made that decision together to leave Mount. Like, she told them that. She didn't tell them for a while, but I knew when everything kind of built up, she was telling them how she was struggling with school. And then when she left, I know that was a decision between her and her parents, kind of mutual type decision.
It turned out that Lauren had been right to suspect that Sydney had been lying to her pals. She was, however, also lying to her parents, who were unaware of her troubles in college until they got a call from Sydney's professor. In order to ascertain the precise nature of their daughter's problems, Steve and Brenda started having crisis conversations.
So I went back, I called my wife from my daughter's phone. She picks up, she was working down at Children's. And she goes, "What's wrong?" And I basically told her, I said, Sydney, I think the reason we can't get on is because she's unenrolled. She hasn't been going to school. She goes, "Well," and then we talked to Jill, her boss, and says, "I'll see if I can come home."
Sydney got entangled in two different lies, the one she told her parents and the one she told her friends. A child's poor grades don't mean the world is ending, and any parent would help them through these difficult situations. However, it appears that she was afraid of her parents' reaction and found it difficult to inform them that she had been asked to leave the college.
Did you ask how she was doing, or tell us about that?
Yeah, we asked her she was doing, and she said she was good. Like, she acted like what we would see as normal. Like, she was laughing, she was having fun. She said she got jobs because she worked at the Akron Rubber Ducks. She's worked there for a couple seasons, so she was gonna go back there. And then she also said she was looking for another job, and like everything was good, and she was trying to figure out like for next year and all this stuff. And she was gonna talk to her parents about housing, trying to come back to Mount. That was her main thing. But she seemed fine. Like, she seemed completely like I said, she was laughing and we were goofing off and doing girl stuff and everything like that.
When she's, once she got to Mount Union, or anytime actually, did Sydney ever drink alcohol at all, or she did?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just kind of describe that for us. We've all been college age, so. And
No. I don't usually like drink a lot, and if I do, it's one. But she liked to drink. There was an incident in the fall of our freshman year where she drank too much, and she wasn't alcohol poisoned, but she did end up in the hospital.
Investigators believe Sydney lost her temper when Brenda was speaking with her college professor and attempted to cover up her lies by permanently shutting off her own mother forever. The problem is that, despite Sydney's repeated claims that she cannot recall anything, it appears that she made a few critical and thoughtless errors that allowed the investigators to put together what happened. After subduing her mother with an iron skillet, Sydney stabbed her in the neck more than 30 times with a steak knife. In an attempt to hide her tracks, she then pretended to be her mother over the phone and faked a break-in. Regretfully, Brenda did not make it through her experience and died in the hospital. Brenda had been stabbed in the neck and suffered blunt force injuries to her skull, according to the county medical examiner's findings. They determined that she was killed. Detectives were then left to break the devastating news of Steve's wife's passing to him.
Well, really bad news. Your wife passed away.
What happened?
Sydney claimed that an intruder was to blame, and detectives looked into it, but their conclusions didn't seem to support her account, and the evidence was giving a completely different picture. Detectives were left with one last horrifying mission to complete. They had to inform Steve that his wife was killed by his own daughter.
We're not sure. It looks like, I don't think someone broke into the house. I don't know if your wife and daughter got into an argument, got physical. I mean, the window was broken, but there's no forced entry into the house. The window's broken, but nobody actually came through that window. And the sliding door was unlocked. Did your wife and daughter ever have like really heated arguments?
No. No.
The anguish Steve must be going through right now. His wife was murdered, and his daughter is the primary suspect, is just unfathomable. After realizing that the detectives might be correct, Steve leaves to tell his son the news.
Clearly they think Sydney did this. I was too.
She's going to jail forever. Wife's dead.
You know, they're going to do everything they can to make sure that they find out exactly what happened. Nothing's definite as of yet. They still have to do their investigating.
Where's Andrew? Is he just sitting out there by himself, or is he with?
Did you remember with him? I remember.
I think so.
Sydney was taken into custody and accused of killing Brenda Powell. At first, she asserted that she was insane and that she hardly remembered anything that had happened, including the cast, iron skillet strike, and the deadly stabbing of Brenda. Sydney was found guilty of 2 counts of murder, 1 count of felonious assault, and 1 count of tampering with evidence because the jury did not think she was telling the truth. Sydney Powell received a life sentence with the possibility of release after 15 years.